What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a look at note probability in Ableton Live 11 and also how you can set up some groove in your Midi with little to no effort at all. So let's get right into it. Alright, so for this example, we're going to be taking a look at our hi-hat pattern right here. And if you guys missed it in the last one, we talked about a lot of ways to go ahead and randomize your velocity in your hi-hats and making them have a little bit of chance with them as well. So if you guys missed that one, I'm going to leave a link to that video at the top of the screen right now. Go ahead and check that one out first. That way you can get to the point that we're at right now. And so now we're going to jump into probability in notes and things like that. So we have our base set of hi-hat notes right here. And we have the randomization going on that we set up by randomizing it. We also have the different chance that it can hit at a certain velocity each time it goes through, so that the notes are consistently playing different velocities every time this 8-bar loop is getting played. It's never the same. So for the second part, I went ahead and made a second part of our hi-hat right here. And we're going to add a little bit of probability to these notes. But you might be asking, what do you mean by probability? Probability that the actual note is going to play at all in that certain section. So let's listen to both the hi-hats really quick and get an idea of what they sound like, and then we can figure out which notes we want to add the probability to. So I'm thinking for these notes right here, I want to add the probability, meaning sometimes they might play, sometimes they might not play. So that it's going to be completely different every time it goes through. Sometimes it's going to play them, sometimes it's not. It's all going to be based on the probability that we set for them. So let's look at how we can do that. So you can see that we have our velocity pulled up right here, down here, and it's corresponding to this little selected area right here that's highlighted. So if we click the one underneath of it, we get our chance thing to pop up right here. And what we can do with our chance here is we can actually go up or down with it for these notes. And this is going to be the chance or the probability that the note is actually going to get played. So if we turn this down to 50%, it's a 50-50 whether or not it's going to be played or not. So let's turn it down to 50 and let's listen back to this really quick. But we'll add in the snare just so it's not so boring. So it looks like it's giving each note its own probability here. So on this one, the first note right here played and these two did not. On this first one that we listened to, it sounded like the last one got played and none of the other notes did. Let's listen back to it one more time and look for that. Listen for that when we're going through. Yeah, so played the first one there only. Looks like none of them played on that second one. So it's not going to affect the whole thing as a group. It's literally going to do each individual note like we just saw. So if we set this up a little bit higher, let's say maybe like 75, there's a better chance that most of the notes are going to get played through. All of them played that time. Sound like one or two of them got played that time. Sound like the first two got played there. And all of them got played on my last one. So that actually sounds really cool because it's giving it a little bit of different variation on what these notes are going to play. Is it going to play the first two? Is it going to play the first one and the last one? Is it going to play the last two? Or is it going to play all of them? There's so much randomization that can go on by just adding a little bit of probability there. And this is good for any MIDI that you might be making. It could be cool if you had some other crazy rolls going on, or maybe you had something crazy going on in your instruments where you have certain notes that get played every so often when it decides that it should be played. So this isn't just useful on hi-hat MIDIs, this can be useful for everything. Okay guys, so that's chance and probability wrapped up in a nutshell. You have your values, you just select which ones you want to do, and in this little chance thing that, remember, you just click that to pull it up. You're going to go ahead and drag these values up and down, and then if you look at the left side right over here while we're doing it, it's going to show you what the value is. So you can just put it at what % chance you want it to hit on that note. And let's see. So you could even change it up. You don't have to do all the notes the same. Let's say we always want this one to play and we always want this one to play, but we want to take these last two notes here from both of these and we want to put these down a little bit. And we put the first note so that the first note is always playing, and we put these all the way up. You don't just have to do them in groups and notes. You can do it like that too. So now we know that this note is always going to be played and all of these notes are going to be played, and then it's up to these two that has the chance and probability if it's going to hit or not. So you can go all sorts of craziness with this, and that was a little quick introduction to that. Now I want to talk about grooves and things like that. So Ableton's always had the groove pool, but now it's a little bit nicer and easier to set up. Let me drag this down a little bit so that we can see what we're doing here. So what you can do here is you see it says groove over here right now, and you can actually press this little button and it's going to allow you to go through the different grooves, and you could even test them out. You can switch them in and out. They're going to switch just like if you were to press this on any of Ableton's stock plugins. It's going to go in between them, so you can switch one out for the other one without having to delete it or change it. So you could go through this and you could be like, oh no, I don't really like that. So you click on another one and it's going to start using that one, and it automatically places it in here for you. You don't have to do the drop down menu and pick which one it is. So, and the cool thing is that the groove pool opens up for you automatically, because before you had to click this automatically, but now when you use it this way, it opens it up automatically, so there's no confusion whatsoever. So now we have a little groove pool that we selected right here, and we have all different kinds of options for things that the groove can do to our MIDI. Okay, so first we have timing, and timing is going to say how much of this groove is going to affect the actual MIDI. So it's almost like a dry wet knob. If it's up 100%, it's going to affect all the notes 100% of the time. It's going to be doing whatever you set in these other parameters. If you set this down to 50, it's like a 50% chance that it's going to do some of the effects that you're doing. So that might be a better value to start off with, so that it's not all over the freaking place. You have this random bar right here, which is actually going to be affecting the timing of it. So is it going to play it on the grid, or is it going to play it a little bit off or a little bit before? So randomizing it is going to change that. Let's turn this up a little bit so that we can see what it's going to do. And actually, what we're going to do is we're going to exit out of this one. We're going to select none, and we're going to go to our other hi-hat MIDI. It's going to be a lot easier to tell what it's doing on this one. Okay. And we're just going to select this groove that we've been playing with right here. Okay, so let's listen to the random timing that's going to be happening now. You can hear that it's dragging a little bit before, or a little bit ahead, or a little bit behind the curve. So let's turn it all the way up, and we'll turn timing all the way up too, so that it's affecting it all the time, just so we know exactly what it's doing. So every time it's playing it a little bit ahead or a little bit before. So you could use that if you'd like, but again, if you put the timing all the way up, it's going to get kind of crazy, and you kind of just want to add a little bit of flair without going too overboard. So that's what the randomizing does. Okay, so for velocity, if you have it up to 40%, that means it's going to go 40%. It has the chance to go 40% higher than what it is right now, and anywhere in between as well. So you have to keep in mind here that it's not 40% dry or wet. That is what timing is. Timing is the dry or wet. So the velocity is, it has the chance to go 40% higher or anywhere in between. So if you wanted it to go lower, you'd have to go into the negatives here instead. So let's put the velocity all the way up to 100. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn these velocities down a little bit. Let's go ahead and get rid of our chance thing here. I just want to deal with the velocities right now. And we already have them playing kind of cool, so I'll turn them down. But now this should be playing the velocities quite louder than it would have regularly. Let's see. We'll go up and down with it as we're playing. Now we'll turn it down. You can hear it got a lot quieter when we turned it down there. So that's something you can keep in mind as well. But if you saw the last tutorial, we already went over some really awesome ways that you can randomize the velocity and even introduce chance into it as well. So no need for me to do that. I'll stick with the other options that we have available. So you also have this quantization tab right here that I never use. But what it's going to do is it's going to give you a % chance that's going to get closer to the next quantized value. So if you played the notes off the grid, let's say you played them on your keyboard, your MIDI keyboard or something like that, it's going to try to quantize the notes closer to what the actual steps would be. In our case, it would be 1/16, or you can change it from there. So if you wanted to do it that way, you could do that. But if your notes are already quantized and on the grid like ours are right here, there really be no reason to do that. It's only going to make things even messier. So that's why I don't really use the quantization. I either like to do it by hand on the MIDI keyboard or draw it in by hand. So I don't really like something to predict the amount of quantization that I'm going to be using. Alright guys, so that's going to wrap up the video, and thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you guys want to support my channel, the #1 thing you can do is grab my drum kit in the link below. Everybody's been absolutely loving the sounds that are in there. Plus you're going to get my Ableton template and a couple other freebies in there. When you check out the link, it'll tell you exactly what all's in it, and it's only like 10 bucks. Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, just subscribe to the channel and smash that like button for me, or even just leave a comment. Anything helps the channel move forward, and I appreciate it so freaking much. But anyways, guys, that is all I have for you, and I'll be catching you guys again in the next one. Peace out.